Essendon's ageing legs couldn't withstand the pace and polish of Melbourne's runners in the first elimination final today. The Bombers led to half-time but were thrashed after the long break, with Demons' Alan Jakovic and Jim Steins leading the way.
Essendon suffered a major blow before the start, losing Paul Salmon with an ankle injury. The game really got going at the 9-minute mark of the first quarter, with Michael Werner having his say. And the result, Werner with a free kick and Sean White reported for charging Werner. The Bombers took advantage of a strong breeze to control the opening, Greg Anderson playing a key role on the wing, while the veteran Terry Danaher was another winner on Earl Spalding. Shane Hurd was given the job of tagging Alan Jakovic and did a magnificent job early, restricting the Melbourne full forward to just one kick to half-time. Essendon's runners were nowhere to be seen in the third quarter, which Melbourne totally dominated by playing in front. Jakovic got well on top of Hurd and kicked 3 goals to bring his tally for the match to 4.
Jakovic has got the mark.
Darren Bennett, who'd been beaten by Kevin Walsh, also lifted. The Demons kicked 6 goals against the wind, while the Bombers could manage only 2.
Melbourne hit the front load in the third quarter.
Essendon was falling down across its half-forward line, where Gary Lyon was having things all his way. The ageing legs of the Bombers were clearly visible. Melbourne's speed and strength saw it kick right away, with Jakovic leading by example in a polished second half.
45 metres. Beautiful kick.
Well, and Jakovic finishes the day with 8 goals, and Melbourne got out in the end. Pretty convincing winners.
Once we got our game going, the players went at the ball a lot harder, and it was just an automatic thing, I suppose, that we played better in the second half.
So Essendon began well, kicking 5 goals with the wind and held the advantage through the first half with solid defence. But Melbourne kicked 13 goals to 4 after the main change. The Demons now go into next weekend's first semi-final against the loser of tomorrow's match between West Coast and Hawthorn. The first match tomorrow will be the second elimination final at VFL Park between Geelong and St Kilda. The qualifying final follows at Subiaco. To the VFA, and Box Hill has come from behind to outrun Springvale in the first semi-final. 1 or 2 elementary mistakes by last year's beaten grand finalists opened the door for the Mustangs to win by 8 points.
The Springvale full forward Keith Robinson, it was last week revisited with some great marking. Springvale got the early break, Doug Coop making a mockery of the swirling breeze.
Nicely, second goal on the board for Springvale.
Box Hill stayed in touch through Tony Brown.
Brown, he volleys it through.
But at the other end, their defence was under immense pressure.
Gee, they've moved it well out of defence here. Will swing too far to score. Dempster still in play. Nickel off to Scurra. This has got to be a goal. It is.
Box Hill was workmanlike into the wind. Brett Stokes making an impression with one of his first kicks.
It's gone through.
Down by 17 points at the long break, Box Hill got the first 4 goals of the second half. Brett Stokes' second, putting them back in front. Nichols' goal helped Springvale steady.
Terrific goal.
But the Mustangs appeared to have all the answers in an inspiring quarter to lead by 14 points. When Cameron Stewart goaled, Springvale was back in front. But a brilliant mark and goal by Hicks levelled the scores. A point later, Ron Diulio couldn't believe his luck.
Diulio, the goal!
Experienced goal umpire Selwood had to watch this one closely, and the Mustangs were safe.
What's he, does he let go? How about that?
So Box Hill through to next week's preliminary final against the loser of tomorrow's second semi. And in Sydney, the Canberra Raiders beat Manly 34-26 in today's Rugby League minor semi-final. Perhaps inspired...
Hawthorn has become the first team for more than 12 months to beat the Eagles in Perth in a hard-hitting qualifying final at Subiaco today. The Hawks are now premiership favourites after running away with a memorable 23-point victory. The worry for the Hawks is the knee injury to Dermot Brereton. Drew Morford reports.
Dean Anderson was a late inclusion for the Hawks. A hand pass in the opening minute set up a running goal for Hudson.
And there's a good start by the Hawks.
The Eagles' runners were quickly into stride, and Waterman, up from defence, kicked a great goal. In a final, hesitate and you're dead. Morrissey did, and Sumich whipped in to penalise him.
He's kicked the goal.
It was goal for goal. When Irving won a hit out, Brereton said thanks and strolled in for an easy goal. But the Eagles grabbed the lead before quarter time with an advantage free kick, giving Wilson time for a shot from the boundary. This is not how it's supposed to be in sunny Perth at finals time, and Hawthorn dominated the second quarter. Jarman goaled from this.
What a terrific mark.
But Dermot Brereton's game was over when he twisted his knee and went to the rooms. Let's hope it's not the season. It could have been the end for the Hawks, but Paul Deere was an able sub at centre-half forward. It was finals pressure at its best, exemplified by Matera. Sumic needed persistence for his second incredible goal. There was still room for pure class, and as the Hawks led by 9 points at the last change, the tension was showing.
He kicks through, it's a goal.
Langdon goaled early in the final term to rev up the home crowd. But every time the Eagles narrowed the gap, the Hawks were able to pull away again. Dunstall kicked 4 in the final quarter, and they ran away only in the last 15 minutes. Hawthorn to the second semi after the Eagles' second loss at home in 2 seasons. Drew Morfitt, 7 Nightly News.
Great stuff. Geelong is only 1 win away from a berth in the grand final after winning a nail-biter against St Kilda in the second elimination final at VFL Park this afternoon. The highlight of the classic encounter was the shootout between Cat Billy Brownless, who kicked 8 goals, and St Tony Lockett, who booted 9. Hooper and Nield replaced Burke and Darcy for the Cats, but it was the Saints through Gilbert McAdam who got into gear first.
Adam races into goal and fires in a magnificent kick for a goal.
In fact, in a spirited opening, St Kilda looked more composed, with Winmar and Coghlan teaming well, and Lockett far too strong. But 21 points down, Geelong rallied, kicking 4 in 4 minutes, highlighted by 2 great solo efforts by Brownless. Then Lockett had a chance to put the Saints up.
It was missed, I think.
And Geelong led by 10 points at quarter time. Ablett continued to play it hard, but the Plugger show then took over, and if he wasn't dominating in the air, he was spinning out of packs, providing the perfect target. The Saints had turned it around, and at the main change held a 19-point break. Geelong bridged the gap in the first 8 minutes, with Brownless working his own magic, but Blight was disappointed with Ablett and benched him. Then Lockett answered the only way he knows, breaking the record in an elimination final with 9 goals.
He's done it.
The lead had changed 10 times and only 1 point separated the sides. But in the final stanza, the Cats pounced early and managed to hang on by 7 points in a thriller.
You try not to look at the scoreboard when it gets close. You always have a bit of a glimpse up there, and we got a couple of lucky breaks, I think, and we're due for a few, and the ball just went our way.
Yes, exceptionally disappointed and exceptionally proud. Their midfielders are exceptional talent, and we're always going to get away at some stage during the game. I thought, however, our players did an extremely good job and fought it right out to the end.
And next week, the second semi-final between Hawthorn and Geelong will be at VFL Park on Saturday, and the first semi between West Coast and Melbourne will be at Waverley on Sunday. In today's reserves first elimination final, the Saints had a good win over North Melbourne, and in the VFA second semi, Werribee held off the fast-finishing Dandenong, who kicked 3 goals 11 in the last quarter. Essendon fans should know within a fortnight whether coach Kevin Sheedy and captain Tim Watson will remain at the club. Sheedy's name has been linked with the Sydney Swans, while Watson has hinted at retirement because of persistent injuries. The Bombers' season came to an end in yesterday's first elimination final against Melbourne, ending a disappointing year for the 1990 grand finalists.
Yeah, we've had one of those years that probably most people like to forget in many ways, but the players have been terrific. They really have. I mean, look, we lost probably, I think, 15 players have been out for half a year or more, and we still made the finals. So we've got a lot of pluses out of the year, even though we never got into a preliminary final or grand final.
But will Sheedy, who has been at Windy Hill since 1981, coach the Bombers again?
I haven't had an offer, honestly, from either of the clubs yet. I'd say I'd sit down with Essendon in the next 2 weeks and something would come up.
Watson too has had a celebrated innings at Essendon. He played his first game at 15, and although he's only 8 games short of joining the 300 club, chronic hamstring injuries and wrist problems have had him hinting at retirement. While Sheedy has yet to decide on his future, he has no such doubts about his skippers.
Oh, I think Tim Watson's got another 50 to 100 games in him.
Meanwhile, the Bombers are set to share the new-look MCG with Melbourne, Richmond and North Melbourne for next season, with Windy Hill, Essendon's home ground for the past 70 years, to remain a training base.
It probably is the best stadium in Australia, but the Essendon people may or may not want it, I don't know.
17-year-old Monica Seles has won her 3rd Grand Slam title of the year by humbling Martina Navratilova in the final of the US Open at Flushing Meadow today. Seles won the first set tiebreaker, then blitzed the 4-times champion in the second. In the men's semis, Jim Courier ended Jimmy Connor's winning streak and will play Stefan Edberg in the final. Warren Sim reports.
It was Martina's 100th appearance at the US Open. At 34, she was shooting for title number 5. For 17-year-old Monica Seles, this would be the first. The opening set went to a tiebreaker, Seles winning 7-6. The tennis thrilling the Flushing Meadow crowd. It was all Seles in the second, though, taking the title 6-1.
Monica Seles.
Missing Wimbledon could well have cost her the Grand Slam, the US crown making it 3 for the year. Even before walking onto centre court, Jimmy Connors was milking the atmosphere, choosing to arrive through the main public gates. And as we've seen all this week, Jimmy is the master of entertainment. But he was unable to maintain the momentum against Jim Courier. The Connors fairy tale ended in straight sets, 6-3, 6-3, 6-2. In the other semi-final, Edberg and Lendl proved the entertaining doesn't stop when Jimmy leaves the court.
That's out.
Chasing his first US Open crown, Edberg outplayed Lendl in every department, cruising through in straight sets.
There's a behind the back.
Warren Sim, 7.